Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. For those of us who love tech but are always on the go,
Yeah, exactly.
we've got a super exciting deep dive prepared for you today, all about the latest developments in AI.
Right.
From mind-bending 3D worlds to the business side of AI, we're going to cover it all.
It's a bit of a whirlwind in the AI world right now. So much is happening so fast.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so fascinating, right? We're witnessing a true technological revolution in real time.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are both fascinating and a little bit mind-blowing, have you seen what World Labs is doing?
Yeah, a little bit.
They've developed this AI that can turn any 2D image into a fully explorable 3D world. Imagine stepping right into a Van Gogh painting or turning a photo from your vacation into an immersive virtual experience.
It's pretty remarkable. And what's really impressive is that these 3D worlds aren't just visually stunning, they actually adhere to the laws of physics. As you move around and explore, the objects and environments behave consistently, creating a sense of realism that we haven't really seen before in AI-generated content.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And the potential applications are just incredible. I mean, think about the possibilities for gaming, virtual tourism,
Yeah.
even education. Imagine learning about history by actually walking around a 3D recreation of ancient Rome.
I think this technology could be particularly transformative for fields like architecture and design. Architects could use it to create immersive walkthroughs of buildings before they're even built, and designers could experiment with different prototypes in virtual environments.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Stratechery had a really interesting take on this, calling World Labs AI a bridge technology. Basically, they're suggesting that this could be the stepping stone that finally gets us to widespread adoption of things like augmented reality and virtual reality.
Yeah, that's a great point. Imagine using AR glasses to instantly transform a simple 2D image into a 3D world that you can interact with.
Right.
That would be a game changer.
Totally. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, let's talk about OpenAI. There's been some buzz lately about them potentially introducing ads, which seems a little surprising considering their CEO previously wasn't a fan of that approach.
Right. It does seem like a bit of a shift. And to be clear, OpenAI hasn't officially announced any plans for ads. What they're doing is exploring different ways to make money, especially now that they're moving more towards a for-profit business model.
Which makes sense. I mean, developing and maintaining tools like ChatGPT is incredibly expensive.
Exactly. And this shift to a for-profit model could have some interesting implications for users. For example, will ChatGPT always be free to use? Or will we start seeing different tiers of access with some features locked behind paywalls? These are questions that OpenAI will have to grapple with as they figure out their long-term strategy.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially for those of us who rely on these AI tools. Speaking of keeping an eye on things, let's jump into a quick rapid-fire roundup of some other interesting developments in the AI and tech
It
space.
sounds good. Hit me with it.
All right, first up, the browser company is teasing a brand new AI-powered browser called Dia.
Okay.
Get this. It's designed to automate a whole bunch of internet tasks, like adding items from an email straight to your Amazon cart. Pretty handy, right?
Yeah, that level of automation is both fascinating and a little bit thought-provoking. It could make us more efficient, but it also raises questions about how much control we're willing to hand over to AI. Are we okay with AI managing our online shopping, our schedules, our daily tasks? It's a conversation worth having.
Totally agree. And while we're on the topic of AI doing cool things, both Runway and Luma Labs have unveiled some really impressive advancements in AI video creation.
Oh, wow.
They're essentially making it easier than ever to create and edit high-quality video content using AI.
It's incredible to see how quickly this technology is evolving. It wasn't that long ago that AI image generation was all the rage, and now we're seeing those same capabilities being applied to video, which has huge implications for filmmakers, content creators, even virtual reality experiences.
Absolutely. And speaking of mind-blowing AI capabilities, a former Google engineer recently spilled the beans on some of the things their AI can do. Apparently, it can analyze photos and extract incredibly detailed information like identifying specific objects' locations, even understanding the context of the scene. Pretty remarkable, but also a bit concerning from a privacy standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. As AI gets more sophisticated at analyzing images and extracting data, we need to be having serious conversations about how that data is being used, who has access to it, and what safeguards are in place to protect our privacy.
Totally agree. Okay, before we wrap up part one of our deep dive, there's one last piece of news I wanted to touch on. It's about SpaceX and their potential tender offer, which could boost their valuation to a staggering $350 billion.
Yeah. Yes, it's a pretty big deal. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with the term tender offer, it's basically an offer to buy shares of a company from existing shareholders at a specific price. In this case, it seems like SpaceX is thinking about making a tender offer for insider shares, which could lead to that massive valuation increase.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to wrap your head around a number that big.
Yeah.
To put it in perspective, the valuation would put SpaceX in the same league as some of the largest publicly traded companies in the world.
It's definitely a sign of the growing excitement and investment in the space industry, but it's important to note that the details of this tender offer are still being worked out, so it's not a done deal just yet. We'll have to wait and see how things unfold.
All right, so that wraps up part one of our AI-focused deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today, from mind-bending 3D worlds to the business side of AI, and even a glimpse into the future of space exploration.
And we've got even more exciting stuff coming up in part two, so make sure you stick around. We'll be diving into some fascinating insights about the future of work, the potential for AI agents, and even some developments in the world of open source technology. Welcome back to part two of our deep dive into the ever-evolving world of AI. Before we get into some more of the cool stuff happening in the tech world, I wanted to loop back to something we were chatting about earlier, the potential impact of all these advancements on the future of work. It's a big question a lot of folks are thinking about.
Definitely a topic worth exploring. We've been talking about all these amazing things AI can do, but what does it all mean for us humans in the long run? I mean, are robots going to be taking over all our jobs? Should we all start learning to code?
Well, it's not quite that dramatic. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff has a pretty interesting take on this. He believes that AI won't necessarily replace humans, but instead it'll lead to the creation of what he calls AI agents within companies. These agents would essentially handle a lot of the tasks that can be automated, like customer service, data entry, scheduling, that sort of thing.
So instead of replacing us entirely, AI would be more like our super efficient coworkers taking care of the tedious stuff and freeing us up to focus on more creative and complex work.
Exactly. Benioff argues that this kind of partnership between humans and AI could actually lead to a huge boost in productivity for businesses. Plus, it might even open up new job opportunities that we haven't even thought of yet.
That's a much more optimistic outlook. Instead of fearing AI as a job stealer, maybe we should be looking at it as a tool to enhance our capabilities and make work more fulfilling.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it. Now let's switch gears again and talk about OpenAI. They're aiming to reach a mind-boggling 1 billion users in the next phase of their growth.
Wow, 1 billion users. That's a seriously ambitious goal. What's their game plan for pulling that off?
Well, they're going all in on this. First off, they're pouring resources into making their AI tools like ChatGPT even more powerful and user-friendly. They're also working on forming partnerships with other companies, including big players like Apple. And they're planning to roll out a bunch of new AI agents and services that will cater to a wider range of needs.
It sounds like they're determined to become the go-to source for all things AI. And
Yeah.
with that kind of reach, it's exciting to think about the impact they could have on everything from how we work to how we communicate and even how we create art and entertainment.
Yeah, it's a transformative time, and OpenAI is right at the forefront. Speaking of transformations, there's another development I wanted to discuss. It involves Google and some pushback they're facing regarding AI and search trial remedies.
Okay, I have a feeling this might get a little complicated. Can you break it down for us?
Sure.
What exactly are these search trial remedies and what does AI have to do with it all?
Of course. To give you some context, the U.S. government won a case against Google over their search monopoly. As a result, they're proposing some remedies to prevent Google from using its dominance in search to stifle competition.
Okay, I'm following so far.
Very cool.
But where does AI fit into this whole thing?
Well, the judge overseeing the case, Judge Amit Mehta, believes that AI could play a key role in developing these remedies.
Okay.
He thinks AI could be used to ensure that Google's search algorithms are fair and don't give preferential treatment to their own products and services.
Ah, I see. So even though Google might want to keep AI out of the picture, it sounds like it's going to be a major factor in how these remedies are developed and implemented.
Exactly. This whole situation really highlights how AI is no longer just a cool, futuristic technology. It's becoming deeply integrated into the tech industry and is having real-world consequences on how businesses operate and how we access information.
And with OpenAI aiming for 1 billion users, it seems like that influence is only going to grow exponentially.
Absolutely. It's a super exciting time to be following AI, but it's also a time for some critical thinking as we figure out how to navigate the ethical and societal implications of this powerful technology. But hey, before we get too serious, let's shift gears again in part three and explore some of the more fun and quirky developments in tech that caught our eye. You ready for some rapid fire updates?
Always ready for a techie roller coaster ride. Bring it on.
Uh,
All right, we're back for the final stretch of our tech deep dive today. Get ready for some rapid-fire updates on all sorts of cool and quirky tech developments.
let's do it. Always love hearing what's new and innovative in the tech world.
Okay, first up, we've got news from the world of open source software. OpenWRT, a project that creates router firmware, has actually released its own repairable hardware called the OpenWRT-1.
That's really interesting, especially when you consider how many tech gadgets these days feel almost disposable. It's refreshing to see a project that prioritizes sustainability and gives users the power to repair their own devices.
Right. It's like a throwback to the days when you could tinker with your electronics and actually understand how they worked.
Exactly. It's a nice change of pace.
Okay, next up we've got something called SeekStorm. It's a super fast, full-text search library and multi-tenancy server. I'll be honest, it's a little over my head technically, but it sounds like it could be a game changer for developers working with massive data sets.
It definitely falls into the power user category, but essentially SeekStorm allows for incredibly efficient searching and retrieval of information from huge amounts of data. Think about things like real-time search suggestions on websites, or quickly finding specific records in a giant database.
So it's like having a super-powered search engine at your fingertips.
Exactly. And as we generate more and more data in the digital world, this kind of technology is becoming absolutely essential.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now for a bit of what could have been news. There's been some information released about the canceled Pixel Tablet 2. Apparently, it was going to have a bunch of cool upgrades like a 120 Hz display, a Tensor G4 processor, and even new cameras.
It's always a bummer when a promising piece of tech gets canceled, but it does give us a glimpse into the kinds of innovations companies are exploring. And who knows, maybe some of these features will make their way into future Pixel devices down the road.
Fingers crossed. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We've covered so much ground, from AI-generated 3D worlds to the future of work, and even some open source hardware developments. It's been a wild ride.
It really has. I always enjoy these conversations. It's fascinating to see how quickly the tech landscape is evolving.
Me too. And a huge thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the articles and projects we discussed today.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed the deep dive, be sure to subscribe to Byte-Sized Tech so you don't miss out on future episodes. We've got tons of exciting topics lined up to explore.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What tech developments have caught your eye lately? Let us know in the comments or on social media. Until next time, happy tech exploring.